Sugary desserts can lead to a crazy continuous cycle of cravings and slow down fat loss. On the other hand, cutting out desserts altogether can make us feel restricted and often drive us to binge. How do we avoid the sugar without feeling that we're denying ourselves? This is the same problem for all women, but for Black women, it is even more critical to avoid as much sugar as possible because we're at higher risk for insulin resistance. Not only does insulin resistance prevent us from losing fat, but it puts us at higher risk for other chronic diseases as well. So I'm going to share what one thing we Black women can do to avoid sugar but still satisfy our sweet tooth and stay on track with our fat loss goals. Also, at the end, I'll share a special tip that I use to ensure that I can quickly satisfy my sweet tooth without grabbing for store-bought snacks when I'm busy and have no time. My name is Jennifer Lipscomb. I'm a fat loss nutrition coach, and I help Black menopausal women with a sweet tooth lose fat on a fully or partly plant-based diet without skipping dessert. Dr. Ekberg has a really good video on the effects of protein, fats, and carbs on insulin and how you reduce the amount of insulin that's released when you eat. The video is over 30 minutes and it's really detailed, but he explains really well the negative impact that high levels of insulin can have on your health, particularly insulin resistance, which not only ensures that you store lots of fat, but it leads to chronic diseases. If you get a chance, you may want to take a look at it. I'll leave a link in the description notes. But what I took from it was that we as Black women need to be very, very careful about what we put into our bodies. Black women who are at higher risk for insulin resistance, reducing carbs can make a significant difference in our overall health. Simple carbs like refined sugar are the biggest culprits. When we consume sugary desserts, our brain releases feel-good hormones like dopamine, creating a pleasurable sensation. And this flood of dopamine creates a reward response in our brain, linking the sweet taste with pleasure. Our brain then craves more of that pleasure, leading to increased consumption of sugary treats. Sugar causes a rapid spike in blood sugar, followed by a crash. When our blood sugar crashes, it can leave us feeling hungry, fatigued, and craving even more sugar just to replenish the energy levels. When we restrict ourselves, we may be able to avoid the trigger food for a period of time, but sooner or later, our brain wants to rescue us from the suffering of restriction by rewarding us with the exact thing that we're trying to avoid. And we're tricked by our own brains into seeking more pleasurable sweets. Avoiding sugar was never so important for Black women than it is now, with higher rates of insulin resistance, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic diseases. And let's face it, Black women everywhere have to deal with their own share of stress, which results often in emotional eating, which then leads to overeating, high calorie surplus, and weight gain. And on top of that, menopausal changes alter our appetite cues, which adds fuel to the fire. So how do we deal with our cravings while reducing sugar and preventing a binge? Before I share that, if you find this information valuable and wish to continue to receive similar videos, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. So to deal with our cravings, remember first that a craving is just a craving unless we feed the craving with trigger food that drives us to overeat. Sugar is a trigger for most of us, especially if we're menopausal with a sweet tooth. So the best solution is to replace the sugar with healthier desserts so that your blood sugar remains stable, insulin remains low, and your cravings go down, and you stay on track with your eating plan. As long as we're mindful of our cravings and find alternatives that satisfy our sweet tooth and don't spike our insulin like sugar does, we won't derail our progress. By understanding the temptation cycle, we can consciously make choices that align with our fat loss goals by replacing the sugar with other healthy desserts that still satisfy our sweet tooth but don't trigger us to overeat. Also, having tasty, healthy desserts help keep us consistent because we don't restrict ourselves. Instead, we satisfy our sweet tooth, but with healthy, tasty snacks that supports our fat loss and keeps us motivated to keep going. My biggest tip, as I shared in the beginning, for ensuring that I can quickly satisfy my sweet tooth without grabbing for store-bought snacks when I'm busy and have no time, to meal prep my desserts. Keeping healthy desserts on hand is important for fat loss, especially when you have a craving that you can't ignore, but you want to make sure you don't eat off plan. Make sure to schedule your desserts and include them on your eating plan so that you're not overeating and create a calorie surplus. One of my favorite desserts is carrot banana cake with healthy sweeteners from dates and bananas and lots of fiber from carrots and oats to balance the blood sugar and keep me feeling fuller longer. If you wish to have the recipe, leave a comment and I'll be happy to send it your way. Also, for more delicious desserts, you can join my free mini fat loss course. I'll leave a link in the description below.